Thank God.
All right. Give me your name, rank, where you're from, who you served with, and your MOS.
I am Dave Hammy Hamilton, formerly a specialist with Able Company, 2nd Battalion, 69th Armor Regiment, out of 3rd Brigade, 3rd ID, Kelly Hill, Fort Benning, Georgia.
What was your mission during the war?
My mission was kind of all over the place. Specifically, I was with a mechanized infantry unit that was tasked with oversight of the major drawdown effort going on in Iraq between '09 and 10, and our mission kind of changed halfway through. We went from running combat operations to apparently not running combat operations and doing, the whole advise and assist thing. Win them over by their hearts and minds, which worked and didn't work, but that's to each his own. Specifically, my daily routine was, as a mounted guy, vehicle maintenance, ensuring the vehicle ran properly, was ready to go for mission. Coming off a mission that it was quickly flipped and ready for a reset for another mission or another quick reaction force mission that, those could happen at any point in time because you were on call basically for those. So everything from the vehicle maintenance to maintenance of each individual component, whether it be the gun itself or monitoring radios and digital comms through GPS, making sure truck commander had his little maps in front of him, he was good to go. Making sure that the radios are dialed in and not losing communication through halfway through the mission, and making sure everything was stocked for the vehicle. It was running like a smooth, well-oiled machine.
Sorry, I wait for that cough there. Can you highlight some of the highs and lows you experienced while over there, as far as like positive memories?
Highs and lows can be varied from the individual, right? Everybody's got their own experience. My experience, fortunately, was pretty pleasant. I kind of just kept my nose down and did what I needed to do to get the job done, and through doing so, I kind of just avoided a lot of the bullshit that the big army has to throw your way. But also, I was lucky enough to get thrown into a platoon that was pretty no nonsense. Prior to the workup prior to us deploying, they were pretty strict about trying to figure out who the final team was going to be going overseas, and they weren't afraid of making some roster changes in order to make sure that we had a group of guys that worked well together, or well enough together, given the circumstance. I think highs for me were kind of hour by hour, day by day. Deployment's a large animal to eat, and the only way to eat a large animal is one bite at a time. And so for me, it was mostly being able to get through that day. And then if there were down times or times where it wasn't busy or I wasn't already tasked out with something that took my mind off of, things back home or how long we had left to, on the fucking deployment, then it became easy to kind of stack my days full of, activities and, people to be around, little tasks that needed to get done regardless of the time of day. Personal maintenance, whether that was, working out at the gym or getting little things like laundry done or just cleaning out your little corner of the hooch. I think those were times that I cherished because they were usually times that, if I'm doing something by myself, I could get a moment of peace. When you're deployed with a group of dudes, everybody tends to be all up in each other's business, which is great. It builds camaraderie, and it helps foster a good work environment, but also it is kind of like being in a can of sardines. You're all stacked on top of each other, and breathing room is few and far between. So those were kind of my highlights, finding moments where I could just kind of reset myself, knowing that there was nowhere else to go. There's nothing else I could do but just do my job and anything else that came down the pipe. Some of the lows, I'd say a dark one, like a deep dark one that I don't really talk about, is I could tell that I was growing further and further apart from my family, well, my ex-wife at the time. And it was just tough not being able to be there for my son, who was a toddler at the time, knowing that I was missing out on some really crucial times of him growing up that I'll never be able to get back, but also knowing that the situation between myself and my ex-wife was becoming more and more estranged just because of the distance that was between us, and it required the spouse just as much brain power and willpower to kind of carve out a living for themselves while we're overseas doing the job. Everybody talks about what it's like for us over there, but we rarely talk about the kind of lifestyle that you have to live back home as a spouse, and just some of the worries and the fears that naturally come with that, but also the level of responsibility and how nonstop it can be, for a single mother who often has at least a kid, if not a few, without that main support factor in the spouse being there. That was something that I could tell was slowly unraveling, and was going to be an issue if I didn't take care of it, at the very least when I got back. And so that was something that kind of always hung out in the back of my mind as a low point, that there were things that I was going to have to deal with that for now were outside of my control. But another major one that I think is on everybody's timeline that was with us was when Anthony was killed. That definitely went down in the books as probably some of the rough 36 hours I've been through. We were out running our own mission set when the call came in that our home area had been attacked by rockets, and that our unit specifically had members that were casualties. And so we kind of had to play the waiting game while still taking our job seriously outside the wire, and try to stay focused with that. A lot of us were monitoring the radio net just naturally, because our next echelon above the company radio net was battalion net, which at least two of the trucks, if not most of them, monitored. So everybody could hear, kind of how it was playing out and what was going on. And so that was kind of a gut-wrenching moment, knowing that we're out here, we're stuck, and we can't make a move to go help these guys, and they're our guys. And so I think the lack of control in that moment definitely ate at me. And then rotating back in that after that night, we finished out what we needed to do, came back first thing that morning, and that was pretty tough too, because we rolled straight into his wake. And then right after his wake, we were told we had 12 hours on standby to just kind of decompress, which nobody really decompressed. Everybody has their own way of decompressing, but I think for that moment in particular, everybody either just kind of went to bed and caught up with some sleep, or went about their day, got some chow, got a workout in, and just kind of put it to the back of their mind, and moved on into the next week. And so after that point, things kind of got pretty hazy. But really that was probably the main low point.